Well, it was a beautifully sunny morning when we set off on our journey to Padmaloka. It all seemed to start off in some kind of boys' own adventure. All four of us looking like versions of the Lone Ranger, fully masked yet completely enthused about the idea of the retreat. That had taken so long to materialise out of the dark clouds of the pandemic that had so thoroughly taken the grip of our lives. Ex-Michael and ex-Alec had been waiting so patiently for this day to arrive since early April. And wow, now it was here. We pointed our Vauxhall's bonnet in the direction of the M62 and moseyed on down the trail. From the M62 to the A1 and eventually across country to what turned out to be a wet and soggy Norfolk. We timed it perfectly, arriving just in time for supper. Anyone who's made that trip to Padmaloka will realise how welcome the mention of supper was to us all. At 7:55 precisely, we were summoned by Vishankar's ever-present bell. He had taken on the role of timekeeper for the duration of the retreat. To the magnificent shrine room at Padmaloka, I'm always blown away when I enter that shrine room to see all of Aloka's wonderful paintings of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They really set the scene for all that follows, which in this case was a retreat dedication ceremony and a sevenfold puja. The evening finished about 9:30, and I reckon I was completely out like the proverbial light by 10 o'clock. It really dawned on me the next morning how different things would have to be on this retreat. Wearing masks at all times, except when eating, social distancing at all times, and being more or less separated from the Padmaloka team. There was only one person to each bedroom, and each person ate at their own table at meal times. Each preceptor was allocated a study room for himself and his ordainee or ordainees. So it became obvious that the Padmaloka team had all gone to tremendous amounts of trouble to plan every last detail, to keep us all safe and to fully follow government guidelines. So now the intense work of study, meditation, to ready ourselves for the ordination began in earnest. On Saturday morning, we did regular study sessions. In earnest on Saturday morning. We did regular study sessions each day with Ma Shraddha at about 10:30, which involved confession and discussions about how we were getting on with the six element practice that took place each afternoon. These sessions gradually going deeper each day. Each evening we did a dedicated puja, after which we retired in silence to our rooms. Here I must mention the fact that it rained each day until we reached Monday. On Monday our fortunes changed and we had a typically beautiful Norfolk sunny day, very auspicious as Monday was the day of the private ordination ceremony. On Monday at 7:30, both Buddhasamagama and myself underwent our own separate private ordination ceremonies with Ma Shraddha. It was a mind-blowing ceremony that took place in front of an extremely beautiful shrine that had been built by Ma Shraddha. The feeling of sheer joy was completely overwhelming, more meaningful and more profound than I ever imagined it would be. I also got to know my Buddhist name, but that had to remain secret until the public ordination on Thursday. After the exhilaration of the private ordination, it was back to work the next morning. Ma Shraddha leading us through our respective sadhana practices. Really inspiring to finally do our sadhana practice for the very first time. The sadhana felt really powerful, and I felt very much at ease doing it after looking forward to it for so long. The specialness of the day was reinforced at lunchtime. Chips and beans for lunch, followed by a pudding. Life doesn't get much better than that. I managed to get out into the grounds in the afternoon as the weather had improved greatly. I bumped into Buddha Shanti, and he pointed me in the direction within Padmaloka grounds, something that I had never noticed before. It was incredibly peaceful, which set the mood perfectly for the evening's Manjagosha Puja. I really enjoyed the puja, and it calmed me down perfectly, and it helped to quell the excitement that was beginning to build in me, as the next day was the day of the public ordination. Thursday morning arrived, morning meditation at 7, breakfast, and then time to do our own individual sadhanas with my Shraddha. The Padmaloka team had penciled in plenty of time to fully prepare ourselves for the ceremony. It gave us time to take stock of how things had gone and what was to come next. After lunch, we all readied ourselves for the public ordination. The ceremony itself was very special. It was led by both Satyaraja and Padmavajra. It is in the public section of the ordination that I realised that I was becoming part of the order's lineage, an order that starts with Sangharakshita's vision and goes way back through history to the Buddha himself and his enlightenment in Bodh Gaya. You take on board the 10 precepts and the 4 vows of ordination, which in turn serve to remind you that this is another step in your own journey, albeit a very significant and important one, probably the most important decision that a practicing Buddhist will take in his or her lifetime. I can now sort of disclose what my name is. Sraddhavadin, which means he who communicates confidence in the Dharma. And finally, I'd just like to thank all the members of the Sangha for all the wonderful cards, emails, and messages of congratulation that I have received in the short time that I have been back in Manchester. Sadhu.
Yeah, Sraddhavadin talked about his journey to Padmaloka. I left Lancaster very suddenly a couple of days before the retreat because it looked as if Lancaster was going into lockdown, which it didn't do till the following Tuesday, but they'd announced it was happening overnight that night. So I was lucky enough to have a couple of days at Adhisthana before other people arrived. There were a few of us there, but before most people arrived, and that was lovely. Adhisthana is just beautiful. The grounds are absolutely stunning. I went to Kew last year, and their borders compare, well, I'm not sure that they're not better than the borders at Kew. It's just beautiful. Anyway, on Monday the 28th of September, I was welcomed into the Triratna Buddhist Order and given the name Suvannasiha, she who is like a golden lion. Shantasiddhi from Sheffield is my private preceptor, and Parami from Glasgow, my public preceptor. So some of you will have seen the public ordinations that took place at Adhisthana, which is near Malvern in Herefordshire. And we had the public ordination outside in the Pranya Paramita courtyard, where there's a big rupa or statue of the wisdom goddess Pranya Paramita, the mother of all Buddhas. It's an absolutely beautiful setting that I know Tara Vandana was involved in, the flowers and just, yeah, other rupas, just creating the whole beauty of it. And the weather held for us to be outside and socially distanced following COVID guidelines. So what was particularly significant for me in a way was the fact that I've taken on Pranya Paramita as my sadhana. So that is reflected in the golden part of my name, the Suvanna part. So just going to read a little bit from Vasantara about Pranya Paramita. He says, She is golden yellow, but if we look closely, we shall see that the golden yellow light from her body is given off by millions of Buddhas. Her whole body is made up of golden Buddhas. It is as though the goddess of the perfection of wisdom is a great galaxy. Seen from afar, the galaxy is the most pleasing shape imaginable. Coming closer, we see that it comprises endless constellations of Buddhas, starry multitudes of people who are perfectly awakened to the true nature of things. And it's incredibly special being given a name that actually relates to her, and she means so much to me and has done for so many years. So the other part of my name, Siha, means lion, and it's the symbol of the Buddha. So I've been thinking about different aspects of lions. Friends keep telling me how they see me as being like a lion, and Shanti in the public ordination talked about courage and being fierce, especially when working for others. One friend told me that lions have huge determination and commitment to the hunt, and she sees me as having had that determination and commitment on the path towards ordination and in my spiritual practice. Another friend talked about strength and a big heart, and I like to think about lions not just in terms of their roar, but also when playing and relaxing, yet always alert. And I know these are important lessons for me to learn, to be able to do those things. So the retreat was wonderful. I'm not going to say too much about it because some of you will experience it for yourselves. But it was hugely challenging putting it on in times of COVID, and the team at Adhisthana and the team who ran the retreat did such a tremendous job. I'd really like to thank them all for doing that. But one delight that happened because of being under COVID restrictions was in the chanting. We weren't able to chant together in the shrine room because of the restrictions, but what happened was that one person, maybe with another in response, one person at a time would chant, and that was just magical. Their chants rang out in the shrine room. So I was very pleased to be on retreat with Karunashuri and with Triratna. It was through Triratna that I first became involved with the FWBO, 24 years ago? So it felt really significant to have her be there for my ordination. Thank you, Triratna. It was lovely. It meant a lot to me. So the retreat was really well planned and led right from the very first evening. And the next day when we introduced ourselves, it took us deeper and deeper into the retreat and deeper into the silence. And there were so many gems of teaching from the retreat leaders. I think one thing that was a real highlight for me was a morning when it was a morning of meditation, and Punyamala, who was leading the meditation, just some of the things she said went so deep and had such a strong effect on what was going on for me that I've carried that with me. It's a really profound effect. So I was welcomed home to bunting and cake. Since then, I've been balancing contact with friends, Sangha activities, and quiet times when I can practice my sadhana, prajnaparamita. So I'm enjoying settling into being Suvannasiha and life in the order. So I'm going to finish with something that Shanti quoted at my public ordination, the words of the followers of the Buddha, their lions roar. We have confidence in the teacher. We have confidence in the Dharma. We have fulfilled the precepts, and our companions in the Dharma are dear and agreeable to us. So I just hope I can live up to all that. Thank you, everybody.
Dame Iris Murdoch made me a Buddhist. In her novel, The Sea, she describes three cousins' lives: an army general, an actor, and James the Buddhist. Then she goes on to describe how James's rooms look. In fact, they're a lot like mine at the minute. It enticed me. They were exotic, colourful, fascinating, and it was the beginning of my journey. And who else had a hand in this path of mine? Well, this is the thank yous, and it's every Buddhist I've ever come into contact with. Every past life, every puja, retreat, meal with friends, you know, just the path is the goal kind of thing. And everybody knows the names. And I've just, when I was writing this, I was really, literally shaking that with incredulity that this is the course of my life. My gratitude is boundless, and allowing me to travel with them, especially Mahashraddha, whose hair I've turned grey apparently. I'm sorry about that. Vishanga, Artiketu, and my community mainly. But then there's Triratna, embodied with Bhante. His writings caused me to alter the course of my life. He was the one who fed my deep, deep thirst for knowledge. And without him, I would probably be a rather dissatisfied Sufi. Or if they wouldn't have me, then Lord Buddha forgive me, a Hindu. The order that he founded taught me a Dharma practice with assured enlightenment at the end. And this is the course of my belief. And one other man, Shakyamuni Buddha, his direct knowledge of reality caused something to stick in this crystal head of mine. This is the man I follow, revere, and bow down before. And I don't bow easily. The future. My aim is not to be rescued, to be saved, to be convinced, to be converted, to be forgiven, but to know this will be my path. All of Buddha's words are right view. All his teachings are precepts, and the remainder of my life will be living these out. He teaches that the greatest of human possibilities, that of enlightenment, is achievable in this lifetime. And it's because of him that I know that the purpose of life is transcendence. My yidam is Vairochana Buddha, the primordial Buddha, the essence and function of cosmic consciousness represented by light, and also universal Buddha knowledge. The Avatamsaka scripture features the Tower of Vairochana, containing within it infinite riches, infinite knowledge. Think about it. You can't think about it. It's impossible. And it's symbolizing the mind's full awakening to reality. And my vow before everybody here is that I will spend the remainder of my life seeking enlightenment. My journey will be primarily one of faith, study and reflection, and secondly, social engagement and work in the world, which it will be as well. Gautama teaches me that an unbinding from this wheel of life is not only possible, but it's achievable in the human form. Now, right now is my precious opportunity. And that is my vow. I want to say just a tiny bit about the vows I took. I'll pick on one particularly. Vow 3, for the attainment of enlightenment, I accept this ordination. it meant the most to me, I think. Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Now, this vow is very obvious, but it seems to me that it's the one that gets easily forgotten. And I would go as far as to say that I think it gets forgotten because I think we're frightened of it. Or I think deep down, we don't believe it's possible. Or we don't have a clear idea of what we're aiming at, or an understanding of how to get there. Our practice can be aimless, or we just, and we end up doing just good things in the world. Fixing samsara, which is unfixable. Of course it is. We believe it's beyond us for sure. We cannot understand the nature of the Buddha, nor that of enlightenment. And to be honest, if I could, I wouldn't want it. I understand just why it's beyond me. I need to deeply understand the Buddha's teachings. They come from a completely different dimension, not just another worldly philosophy. I need to surrender. Bow first and then ask questions. Or in my case, bow first and then shut up and give the divine a chance to speak. It's only in those quiet times you can hear. I don't know how to engage every day. No. How I can engage every day is to understand just why hatred, greed, and delusion are such blocks to enlightenment, and the complete freedom progresses you. How is this? I wonder if hatred and craving are just a way of sort of looking after ourselves, and as long as we do that, we're not moving towards enlightenment. This process is helping me along this way. And finally, spiritual death and spiritual rebirth, which was massive for me throughout this whole process. The spiritual death of seeing the world as an illusion, and that higher and happier states of being lie beyond our present understanding, is just a bare fact for me. And my true spiritual rebirth came in the bardo between the private and the public ordination. And the only part of this which I will speak of is my name. All else will come to people in time, or it has done already for all the members. Mahashrada gifted me my beautiful transcendent name. And I felt low self-esteem right up until the public ordination. Humble in the sense that I could never live up to the name. It's a bit like you want to go to the shops, but the only car available is a Rolls Royce. It's sort of, it does the job, but it's sort of a bit much, isn't it? But it all changed on the 1st of October, which was the public ordination, when I stood and I heard my name in public. And Mahashrada shouted at me that I was one of Buddha's sons. It means the world to me. Thank you. In all this mad life lies the beginnings of spiritual rebirth. It's the springing free from samsara. Final quote. The one intoxicated with the world has died. Offerings to the dead, just make them in the 10 directions. Look, the savage has become inert, his wilderness at an end. Thank you.
From the time that I got the invitation to ordination, we knew that it might not happen on the the retreat might not be able to happen on the dates because of COVID. And there was a lot, I think because of that, it took a bit of time to actually arrive when we got there and to really believe that it was happening. A lot had been said about the things that be different, like wearing masks and there not being any chanting. But as Suvannasiha said, the chanting actually became magical. And for me, the particular thing that was really special was the Triratna Vandana, the salutation to the three jewels, chanted most mornings by Shrddhavadin from the gallery. And it was almost otherworldly, and it helped me engage with it in a way I've never managed to do before. What I think Suvannasiha didn't say was that we didn't use the shrine room at Adhisthana at all. Our shrine was set up in the atrium to the library for people that know Adhisthana. Because it's a sort of larger, more airy space, it's double height because of the galleries. And we had the doors open the majority of the time, and they lead out through the beautiful, beautiful garden to Bante's grave. So, and we had the really large painting of the refuge tree there at the front of the shrine room all the time. The last thing that I heard before I went for my private ordination was Parami reading the Triratna Vandana in English. So that was a really magical way to set off. And it was a particularly auspicious day because it happened to be Taravandana's 20th order birthday. So that was really special. As other people have said, we've been doing sadhana practice, and I was one of the last people to have the private ordination. It was particularly large for a short retreat, and it didn't feel like I had quite enough time to just take that on board and move on. So after a discussion with Punyamala, my public preceptor, and Taravandana, my private preceptor, I went for a walk. And what I'd been saying to them was I really wanted to walk in some woodland, and I wanted to walk up a hill and things. So I set off to walk up Oyster Hill. So I got everything I was looking for. You walk through woodland, and then I walked up the hill. And at the top of the hill there's a bench, and I sat on that bench, and that was the first place that I did my sadhana practice by myself without Taravandana. And then I had a flask of coffee, and I sat there, and as I looked all round the hill, in the distance, everywhere there was a dip in the land. It was filled with mist, so it was as though I was sitting and I was doing my sadhana practice in this mythical, magical space. So that was amazing, and that was the morning of the public ordination, which we held outside. And if people wondered why we weren't wearing masks, that was the only time we didn't. We wore masks all the time in the shrine room and corridors, etc. And we had this beautiful Pramya Paramatar shrine. It was wonderful for me that family and friends, there were lots of people there, people that wouldn't have been able to come, that took that opportunity to come to the ordination. The retreat was special anyway without the ordination. I think it was an amazing retreat, and it was lovely to spend more time with Taravandana. I love my name, Karunashuri, but I think that it will take me a lot of time to take on board the meaning, which is heroine of compassion. When I was able to see Vidyamala on my way home, and Sona, so that was lovely. And Sona made cake. Sona made brownies for the first time ever, and they were very nice. we got back in time because our retreat was a bit earlier. I was able to actually watch Sraddhavadin and Buddhasamagama's public ordination, so that was really wonderful. And now I'm back at work, and I come into contact with a lot of different people at work, who work in other places for other agencies. And so I've spent a lot of time going around saying that I've been ordained, that I'm a member of the Triratna Buddhist Order, that I've got a new name and what that means. So there are still more people to tell, but it's a way of speaking about my deepest beliefs, of trying to grow into my name, I guess. And yes, it's going to be it's the name I'm going to use all the time. So I think that's all I want to say.